second time, third time I actually record this video. First time I recorded it on the actual computer, which apparently like reset, shut down, get out. I don't know what the hell what the problem is with the camera. It's supposed to like record videos and shit like this, but it didn't. So also, I realized I need to focus more on the camera than it is on the actual like screen, which has me moving. Second time I recorded it on this site, which is capwing.com. But apparently, I recorded over the tutorial video, which made me start thinking because normally you actually share. They share their account with you. So, me recording over this, I have no idea, man. It's just I couldn't export, I couldn't download, I couldn't do anything. I'm limited to 15 minutes, but apparently, I'm only allowed 4 minutes in the form of like, for something. I don't know. Like, I rushed into doing something instead of opening a different project. I just jumped into it. That's because I think, kind of scared. It's like I can do voice notes to myself. I can actually like have this conversation with myself. But people aren't interested in just hearing stuff. And maybe because like if I actually just want to do the voice notes, most of my thinking is concerned with me. Whilst the reality is, I really kind of want to be talking about the stuff that I actually like. I'm thinking about, and I'm trying to think about better, and I'm trying to understand better. I would want to talk to people about that, and I feel like this community is limited or doesn't exist in the real world as easily as I actually like would want it to be. Funny because like Google's supposed to support that, right? But if you enter communities, for example, if you use Discord and you enter communities, you realize most of them are just around the vibe of being in the community. And the people that actually help are normally exhausted way faster because most of the work goes onto the people that are actually trying to do something instead of the people that just want to be involved. I think that's the human experience, or just the human nature, or just like the human subject. I don't know. Maybe I'll get to decide on a word sometime in the future. But what I'm pointing at is if I want to improve or learn, as they say, which I don't like that word, or evolve or reach my goals, in my head, I always understood the necessity of moving towards something. But it almost never kind of involved me. It involved me setting a certain environment around, which is how life works, that allows you to kind of like trigger in certain directions what you want to do. But after closing 8 companies over the past 12 years, I have realized 12 years, that's when I first established my first company. You kind of realize that like such an approach is not really an approach that you have control over or you can take charge in. The best you could do is learn to be better at dealing with people or something within that realm. But as you get better, naturally, with more variables out of your control, you kind of like start showing signs of weakness or an understanding, limiting yourself, uh, self sabotaging. It's a lot of stuff to deal with. They're very much outside. So a couple of years ago, I decided to like venture on the inside. It's like 4 years ago, I guess. And I started thinking more about stuff, which complicated things for me because the more things I realized I'm interested in, the more I realized I'm not at a level that allows me to understand them properly. So there are certain kinds of evolution when it comes to your mind that are a bit simpler, like reading a book you learn from it. Amazing. Uh, I want to say taking a class, like it gives you stuff to think about. Philosophy, sociology, psychology, human nature, behavior, all of these that they're there on a day-to-day basis. But interacting with yourself, it's a bit more I want to say pretentious. I use the term pretentious because self-reflection is kind of like an ooh, what am I doing? Again, that's how I see it. I don't know how everyone else does, but that's how I see it. Fair enough, though, I saw my struggles to be something that is shared among a lot of people. And I'd assume it's because the majority of people kind of like have a standardized upbringing, depending on the culture they have, depending on the country, depending. And in my effort to connect, I started searching for communities, which again, one after the other failed me. Because if somebody knew what the hell he was doing, he was already very much burnt out by everyone that didn't. And whoever established the actual community for a reason, or is actually like a core member of the community, is always off doing their own shit, right? And they're scared to trust people to get involved in it because naturally people are people. If you're just interested, it's different. If you're committed, it's a much bigger thing. So I started learning software engineering, and right now I'm in the process of building an e-commerce platform. And again, I say platform specifically because like e-commerce platform kind of like synced with my vision of what I wanted to do because it would give me the experience of actually marketing, promoting, and dealing with the web in a more consumer oriented perspective, which is necessary for my website to succeed, the website that I'm building in the future. Because I have to like be able to like sell it to a few clients, verbally sell it. It's a free website and be able to kind of like once I'm done, I need to actually start marketing it. And so far, as much as I try, like even when the idea first came out, nobody was interested in working with me with it. Everyone was interested to talk about it and discuss it. So I had to do everything from like learning the business, structuring the startup, creating the fundamental analysis and non-fundamental analysis, building the documentation for the actual company and the software that I have to build, and then be the person that learns the software languages in order for me to be able to like build the software. The next stage in growth in any business is outreach, right? And an e-commerce store seems to have a well-established way to do it. And the more I read and the more I learn about it, the more I realize how calculating it is, how calculated, research based it is, how the minute you start imagining, like there's this thin line in e commerce between imagining yourself as something the consumer relates to. And on the other side, just the consumer being a number that you have to make sure they come back to the website. So you have to deal with the consumer based on behavioral traits, and then you have to kind of reflect their interests in you in the brand you're trying to show. But ultimately what you're doing is selling products, though it will give you a good experience of online marketing, social media marketing, and these modern day tools that kind of allow for a I want to say lower barrier to entry for the markets, because like ultimately all you're doing is advertising. But that kind of like the new age structure very much guarantees a certain level of success. But then naturally I started thinking, no, I wanted to succeed. Like I want to reach goals. I need certain amounts of money in order for me to be able to like invest in a startup or like build a startup and hire some people and have a decent life and still pursue the things that I want and engage with the things that I want. Cute stuff. Pretentious again. So most of what I do is I think out loud. I've recorded this video 3 times for one specific thought process. What I was learning today was an app called Clavio. The app itself, what it did was it just established the interactions in certain stages of the visit of the consumer. And I've watched enough YouTube videos, or like enough YouTube videos for me to be cocky about knowing that I have to do something like this. But I realized in their explanation, they go like you have to actually like explain more about why you're doing things and how you're doing things in order for people to be able to interact with you. But that explanation is a form of expression that you literally have to kind of like consider how your response, how whatever you're saying is going to be res- is how it's going to be affecting the people that are responding to you. And while doing that, I started seeing a lot more of myself and how I think, and especially how I think like this, right? Because all I want to do is just fill in the gaps and get it done with, right? In my head. But the thought process that you need to generate in between has nothing to do with you. And it makes the small, mundane issue of writing a paragraph on top of something descriptive, makes it more of the experience you're trying to share yourself with the consumer, because you kind of want to be genuine enough for them to believe what you're trying to say, and you want to be like understanding enough of them for them to realize that they want to work with you, because your growth is dependent on their feedback and their purchasing power and their sharing ability. And it's like everything is targeted to them, but everything expresses you and expresses what you're trying to build as the brand. Um, I've been wanting to do this for a while. This is the first one. I don't know how to edit it. I really hope they allow me to download it at the very least so I can upload this to YouTube. But this is me. This is me establishing the first episode, I guess. Welcome to Lebo Nation. Let's build a community together. Fuck yeah.